Hello, YouTube world. Today's scripture, 1 Peter 1:16, because it is written, "You shall be holy, for I am holy." So today, you're probably wondering why I'm staring at this green pumpkin. So my wife and I are expecting our second child, and we are going to be finding out the gender along with everybody else. At the end of the month. It's the beginning of November right now, so somewhere around Thanksgiving time we're going to know the gender. And I have come up with a gender reveal idea. Our son, who is 18 months, loves to turn on light switches. So what we are going to do, made a trip to Lowe's. I will unbox this. Unbag this, I should say, and show you and the rest of the world what I want to do here. There's a lot of clever gender reveal ideas out there, but this is, I wanted to do something unique. This is our last child, as far as our plans go. So we wanted to just be unique about it. So anyway, my son loves light switches. So what I am planning to do is to wire up a tiny little wall. I got this tiny little piece of patch drywall. I'm going to make a wall this size, just a little half wall, and I'm going to wire up a light switch, and it's gonna be a plug-in style. So I'm actually gonna use an extension cord that I have from over here. I was trimming hedges this last fall, and I cut the cord. So we are going to rewire this cord as a plug-in. We'll plug it into a receptacle and wire it up to the light switch in the wall. And from there we will run a light into the bottom of this pumpkin. This is just a plastic pumpkin we got on clearance after Halloween. I'm going to spray paint it pumpkin orange, gloss pumpkin orange, and we're going to do something like maybe a heart or some kind of a viewing window in here. And we have a blue bulb and a pink bulb, and one of my wife's friends is going to be the one to load the bulb up, and then when our son flips a switch, it will show us the gender of our baby. So I might do a time lapse on some of this and just kind of tell you, for anyone that wants to have an idea like this, I'm going to kind of show you how to do it, how I'm going to do it at least, and then after that, you can take the measurements and do it on your own or modify it. But I'll kind of tell you what I'm going to do. And then while I'm actually doing it, I might throw it on a time lapse or just splice it to the next step so you can eventually see the finished product. So let's get to work. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is you could cut down this board if you wanted to. This is the perfect size for what we need it. We're going to measure how much this is. These should be standard measurements since this is a patch piece. So our bottom reading looks like 23 3/4. Top reading should be the same, 23 3/4. And if we're lucky, it's going to be the same on the bottom, 23 3/4. 23 3/4. All right. So what we need to do, I've got some scrap wood over here. Still doing some fall cleanup, so a couple messes in here. So you're going to just take regular 2x4. If you've got scraps around, this shouldn't cost you much money at all. And we are going to cut out our structure. This doesn't have to be a load-bearing wall. since this is just going to be used for the simple purpose of flipping a switch. So all we should need to do here is frame this out to this measurement, and we'll be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and get this work done, and then I will kind of tell you how I did it when I'm done. That way I don't have to keep holding the camera. I wanted to stop for a second and kind of show how I'm making this measurement. So 23 3/4 is the length that we're going to run on this. However, we are going to have a top plate. So 2x4, 2x4 on each side. And on the very top, we're going to have a top plate to kind of cover that. So this measures 1.5 inches. So what we're going to do, instead of 23.5, we're measuring from the top of this board. The top of this board is going to have the width of another 2x4, which is 1.5 inches. So what we are going to do is take 23 3/4, and we're going to add 1.5 inches this way. So actually we'll subtract 1.5 inches off of it. So 23 3/4. This is going to be 22 3/4, and then we need to take 1/2 inch off of that. So 22 1/4. So that's 1.5 inches back. Those are mark lines. These are our cut lines. Okay? So now we'll just get a square here. Mark this good and true. Okay, that's a cut line. So we would make 2 of these, and then we will pick up with starting to frame this out. All right, so we got each side cut. And this is just to kind of show you how this is going to look. So this is kind of butted up as though this was the bottom of the board on each side. And you can see we've got space at the top, 1.5 inches for the top plate. So we already have measured the width of this board. It's 23 3/4. So we're going to go ahead and cut that piece to run across the top. Okay, top piece is in. So, in an actual wall, this would be considered a sill plate. That'll be for another video, I guess, the structures of walls and when we're actually studying out a wall. I'm sure I'll get to that at some point in my house here, if need be. So, but that's going to be the top plate right here. Okay. Side plates, so we have all of the borders of this drywall completely covered right now. What I'm going to do is cut a piece here along the inside that'll just kind of act as another support runner and brace these two. And then we're going to put just a couple legs on this so this doesn't tip over. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this out. Now we know that the full width of this board is 23 3/4. We know that the width of a 2x4 is 1.5 inches. So obviously these take up 1.5 inches on each side. So we're going to take 1.5 inches off on each end, and that's going to leave us with our measurement. So 23 3/4 with 1.5 inches plus 1.5 inches off is going to be 20 3/4. So that's going to be the length of this board. We'll go ahead and get that cut, and then we'll get the legs cut out and measured. All right. So this is the piece that we just cut that I talked about. Just fits right in between there, and you can see the whole border of our piece of drywall is complete. You do not typically build a structure around a piece of drywall. You do the opposite. You cut drywall around the piece of the structure. But in this case, I didn't want to cut drywall, it's messy. And this is a perfect size for what I'm looking for. So what I did was I found a piece of scrap wood, and I found another piece that was longer, marked it and cut it so that they're about the same length, and these are going to be used as the feet. So we're going to just screw those to the bottom of the structure, and that's going to act as kind of the support. So to get these screwed in, you can use nails if you'd like. I could just hook up my nail compressor, or my air compressor with my nail gun. It might be the easier way to do it. You can use screws. Again, this is not a load-bearing wall. This is just meant for just a tiny little purpose. So screws, one on each end, into each butt joint. So you would come 2 screws into this side, 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 or nails if you'd like. And then after that, just kind of find the center in your feet boards, and then you're just going to screw 2, 3, 4 right inside the structure, right where it matches up there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll kick back into it. Okay, that's the structure. I just brought out the frame nailer. Makes quick work of things. So put 2 in there, put 2 up there, 2 up there, 2 in there, and then on the bottom, on these pieces, I measured out the length. I think it was 21.5 inches. You find the halfway point, mark a line. Same on this one, 21.5 inches, halfway point, mark a line. And then I just kind of eyeballed it with the edge, and then put 4 in there. I put 4 just so there's a little extra stability. And to the naked eye, even if I'm off by a few millimeters or a fraction of an inch, no one's going to notice. So I think people are going to be a little more focused on the actual events happening than so much of the craftsmanship. So anyway, this is the frame, and then all we would do is take our drywall, and since you pick whatever side you want to be the appropriate, the front end, and then there's always a butt edge on these pieces of drywall, just because the eye is going to be drawn probably closer to the top. I just move that towards the top of the frame, and then we are just going to screw this in. This is going to be our wall. And there she blows. Pretty simple. You can go overkill with these screws, but I just did, one on each corner, one on each side, top and bottom. And it's meant to be a short wall, and that's what it is. So, as far as stability, you don't have to worry about it falling on anybody. If you wanted to, you could probably doctor these up, paint them or cover them or do whatever. I might do something like that. But the next thing to do is to figure out where you want your light switch. Now, when I put this on the ground, my boy stands about 35 inches tall, maybe a hair less. That's probably about up to here. So I don't want to make him bend all the way down here. So I've got a couple options. I can put this thing dead center, throw some 4x4s on the bottom, hike this thing up a little taller. I don't know if I want to do that. I think what I'm probably going to do is put the light switch a little closer to the top. And we can always decorate the wall or anything, stuff underneath. But you want to find the center. You want to find the center of this. And I'll show you what we're going to do here. So you flip this around to the back. All you need to do, wish I could get a little farther away with my camera. Just my arms aren't long enough to show you this without a close-up view. You're going to measure the distance between these 2 inside studs and between the inside studs on the top and the bottom. And wherever your center point is, you find out whatever height track you want, but find your center point and then mark your lines. Just mark your lines. And your center point is where you're going to put your box. Okay? And then wherever your box is at, you can see there's a spot for your stud on the other side of it. So we're just going to put one more stud down this side. So I'm going to mark my center points. All right, I'm going to show you a trick on this. And I'm sorry for all the splices. I know this video is probably very choppy. So I said measure the distance, 20 3/4 all around square. Each distance, 20 3/4. So what you do is just divide that by 2, and that's going to be your center point. Mark your center point on each side. And then take your square, match it right up, and it's going to get you pretty close to your center. So you'd mark this right here. I only have 2 hands, so I can't show you, but you'd run your pencil line all the way down. Do that on each side. And I'm going to do that right now. There you have it. So to bridge the gap between your lines, just take the flat end of your straight edge, which is just what I did, of your square, and just connect the lines. You obviously, I've got longer straight edges, but you can't fit them in between your stud spaces. So you just have to kind of improvise that way. And there's no building inspector that's going to come and make sure this is true dead center. But that's going to be our mark. That's going to be where we're going to kind of adjust this box off of. And you can already see this is going to be center, but I actually want this to be a little taller because my son's a little taller. So I'm probably going to have it closer to up here, but you can see the holes. All you got to do is line that up with your line, trace the outside of the box, and that's where you cut your box. So I'm going to go ahead and get that done, and then we can go ahead and get the other stud placed right in here. All right, so here's where we're at now. So I've taken my electrical box and I marked right where I wanted it to line up on the center lines. And I traced all around the edge, this edge here. And what that allowed me was my final position for this stud. As you can see, these brackets go into that stud. So I just kind of traced those lines out onto the drywall. Cut this middle stud to 20 3/4 because that's our interior length. And I just popped that in with my frame nailer. And now this box is ready to go in. You can see it lines up just the way we want it. So all we have to do, and we've already traced out the box outline. If you have a Dremel or a hole saw, there's many different tools you can use for this. I'm going to use my Dremel, and we're going to just pop through and cut. Something to watch out for, always pop in the middle. Make a puncture in the middle. If you have a Dremel, then you can run down, because if you mark on this side, you could pop through the paper on the other side. And for finishing work, that can just add to troubles. So usually, in any other situation, we would be marking from the paper side as opposed to the back side. But we'll cut this out, and then I'll show you how we properly mount this electrical box to the stud. Let there be light. So we got this cut out. This was just freehand. So there might be a, you can see right here, I kind of human error. But there's no pop through on the other side that isn't just paper. And the cover plate's going to cover that for the electrical box. It's going to cover that for the light switch. So line it up, see how we look. She fits right in there. So this is a mistake that I've seen sometimes in home projects. People will install a fixture like this after the fact. And you can see how this is coming up just to the drywall. They'll mount it just like that. Big mistake. You have a 1/2 inch of drywall here. And you have to account for that, because if not, when you go to screw in that plug, the switch, anything else, it's going to recess inside, and then you go to put the plate on, and the receptacle or the light switch is sticking way too far into the box. And I actually recently on my brother-in-law's house had to come in and repair that. He had someone install after the fact, and they were just rushing through the job. So you have to make sure that you're getting the front of this box flush with the drywall on this side. And there she is. Got to get it flush. Okay? Flush with the drywall. So then, once you got that where you want it, you see there's 2 holes there, 2 holes down there. Screws or nails, whatever you prefer, pop them in. And then it's just a matter of wiring. So I don't know where I'm collectively at so far in filming these videos. If I'm close to 10 to 15 minutes, I might make this a 2-part. And I'll probably have to do that soon to show you how we're going to run the electrical into this. And then, of course, where did my pumpkin go? There it is. Getting this guy figured out. So the next step would be I'm going to mount this, and then we'll get everything wired.